Welcome to the Besties with Breasties podcast. Sarah Hall here. I am a certified health and wellness coach, athletic trainer, mom, and breast cancer survivor. I help women overcome their own mind drama to make mind shifts that open up the possibility for their most empowered and energetic life.
And I am Beth Wilmus, author, speaker, and founder of a human investment organization, otherwise known as a nonprofit, called Faith Through Fire. Our mission is to reduce the fear and anxiety that breast cancer patients feel and replace it with hope and a path toward thriving.
This podcast is about our experiences with breast cancer
and life after as young survivors and moms.
How was your Mother's Day?
It was. I got a new plant.
Oh my gosh, you're such a nerd. Nerd!
I have so many plants. It's not even funny.
Is that what Eric and the girls gave you?
Yeah, it's a big fiddly fig tree.
Ooh,
yeah.
A fig tree?
Yeah, fiddly fig.
Oh yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, they look like a fiddle.
Very designer.
It is so.
That's what's always
like
in
a
those
magazine.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're always in the magazine.
I think I spent as much on the pot though as we did on the plant. So
yeah, well,
it was quite a plant investment.
I was gonna say those plants are not those plants are not cheap at all.
No, they're not.
But they do look good.
Yeah, they do.
Well, good. Yeah.
I
had a pretty good Mother's Day too. My husband knows me so well that he offered to paint my daughter's room for me.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate painting.
You totally were like, wouldn't it be great if I showed up and he had painted the room and you...
Yeah, so backstory...
Offline, yeah.
Backstory on this is that Sarah and I were talking about it with Joan, who will be on our show shortly. Yeah. But we were sitting around having a cup of coffee, and I was like, I wish that my husband could read my mind and would paint my daughter's room for Mother's Day. And both Sarah and Joan go...
Fat chance.
Yeah, fat chance. Don't be disappointed when he doesn't do that. And I said, okay, yeah, you're right. And then on the way home, I called him to let him know I was on my way. And he said, hey, just as an FYI, your Mother's Day present is that I'm going to paint Charlotte's room for you.
Oh,
and that's,
boom.
Yep.
That's totally acts of service love right there.
Mm-hmm. He knows that's my love language.
Oh,
and I hate painting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a wonderful Mother's Day.
Boom.
Yeah, our Boobs in the News is related to Mother's Day. So I'm glad that we...
Sweet.
Mm-hmm,
I can't wait.
Yes. Okay, guys. So today our guest is Sherrill Jackson, the president and co-founder of the Breakfast Club, which is a predominantly African-American support group and nonprofit in St. Louis. Their mission is to support and educate women concerning breast health, breast cancer prevention, and screening. She is a retired pediatric nurse practitioner who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992.
Oh, good. So we got a survivor here.
That's right.
Yeah. So she is joined today by Brenda Carter, a retired federal employee who was first diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer back in 2009. So it's a long-time survivor. She and her husband joined the Breakfast Club back in 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. But before we do that, let's hear from our first sponsor.
We did it. We fought our way to survivorship. But for some of us, our story unfolds to include lymphedema. Hearing this new diagnosis can be disheartening. But with the right care, it doesn't have to be the burden it once was. FlexiTouch Plus is a comfortable and convenient home management therapy clinically proven to control swelling better than self-massage while reducing infection risk, outpatient visits, and lymphedema-related care costs. Talk to your doctor to see if the FlexiTouch pump is right for you. Learn more at tactilemedical.com. Well, welcome, Sherrill and Brenda. Thanks for being with us today.
Good to be with you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Sherrill, let's start with you. You were diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992 and chose to have a modified radical mastectomy and 9 months of chemotherapy. Does that make you a 29-year survivor?
Yes, I'm a 29-year survivor.
Woo! Woo!
That's awesome. What an encouragement to all these newly diagnosed women to see you. Here you are thriving 29 years later.
We look to you for hope.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, can you explain for those listening what a modified radical mastectomy is? Because I'm not even sure I really understand what that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the time, that was the treatment of choice. That was an option. And what that means is I opted to have my breast removed, which included the skin, the areola, the nipple, and some of the lymph nodes. And so I wasn't that well endowed in the first place, so it worked out for me.
Yeah. Did you find that at the time, they're calling this a radical mastectomy. So was that choice kind of difficult for you to come to?
It really wasn't. My husband and I made the decision together. He actually, basically kind of said, whatever you decide is all right with me. I just want you to live.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why basically I decided at that time on the treatment plan.
Yeah.
Now, you're a nurse. So was being a nurse helpful to you in making these decisions regarding your treatment? Did you feel like your training kind of equipped you to handle this better than, say, if you didn't have that background?
I think so. I mean, because I asked questions, the surgeon I had at the time, I had lots of confidence in him, and I was comfortable. Once I made the decision, I was comfortable with it. And I think that's really what matters. There are, of course, more options now, but I think even now, when you look at your situation, you talk to your physician and you make your decision, as long as you don't have any regrets, I think that's what's really important.
It sounds like you say the same thing that Sarah and I do to women that are diagnosed, that you have to be 100% confident in your decision for you and not let anybody else influence you, so that you don't, second guess yourself or feel resentful towards somebody else down the road. I think that's so important, and everybody feels differently about it. Brenda, what was it like for you? You're also a survivor.
My situation was a little different because I have a family history of breast cancer.
Okay.
So my mother had a double mastectomy by the time I was diagnosed, and I had a 28-year-old daughter who had a mastectomy. So we had a family surgeon that we were very confident in.
That's kind of nice. I mean, it's convenient to have somebody that you've already put your faith and trust into that's taking care of your family, and that you trust them and they're supporting you. So that probably felt.
How did you know that you had a genetic component to your family history? Did you just have so many women that were diagnosed that you guys had the testing, or how did you know?
Actually, we did the BRCA testing and they came back negative. So it's not a family history gene.
Oh,
wow.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. So you just had a lot of breast cancer in your family, but it wasn't attributed to that particular gene.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And you said your daughter was proactive and had a double mastectomy, and your mother had already had.
My mother had the double. My daughter had just one side with just mastectomy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Interesting. So by the time that happened to you, were you prepared emotionally, or was it still a shock?
It was a shock that it happened because I thought we were being proactive, but still having people around me who had been through it before, who could kind of walk you through it, and who having medical people around that you were confident in made a big difference.
Yeah.
Now, Sherrill, you're very open about the fact that chemotherapy put you in early menopause. What was that like? And did you feel prepared for those side effects?
First, I met my oncologist. I was introduced to my oncologist prior to my surgery. And I have to say, my tumor, it was like estrogen made it grow. So I had to avoid anything with estrogen in it. And there wasn't really anything I could take for the menopause. I think I had maybe a month free with no ups and down symptoms with anything before the menopause kicked in. I think the menopause for me, I had all of the symptoms. I had the hot flashes, and I had the cold and the mood swings. And that was kind of rough because I couldn't take anything, and I had to literally just kind of suck it up.
Yeah, because what were providers saying at that time about what to do about it? Was there a lot of help? Because Sarah and I feel like even now, today, there's so much more than there used to be, but we're still frustrated by the lack of support for when young women are thrust into menopause.
Or even just the warning, like, hey, this is going to put you into menopause, and then it's like, period, that's it. We're not going to tell you about what that's going to be like.
Right.
Yeah. So do you feel like there was support, or were you kind of made aware of what that was going to be like?
Well, you know what? I feel like I had the support, but there wasn't really anything that my oncologist recommended me doing. Now the suggestion of, walking and trying to do things, to reduce stress and all of that. But but nothing worked for me. And so I just had to basically kind of tough it out. And I worked even when I went through chemo. And in a way, when I look back, I'm glad for that, because it made me focus on something else beside myself, the menopause. But it was very, very tough. And I think too, I had a very supportive husband, and I could tell him, kind of what was going on, because sometimes I was grouchy. And hard to live with. And so I think that helps too. And I had a very supportive family, but there's just not a lot that you can do when you're going through the menopause. It's kind of like, it's kind of like mind over matter. It gets better, but then also it comes back.
Yeah, and it's very severe. I mean, for Sarah and I, we were raising kids and we're, in our 30s, and all of a sudden it's like you're in menopause almost overnight, and it's very extreme. And, people weren't meant to go into menopause over one night. It was
not with young children.
No. We always say that you're not supposed to be parenting in menopause for a reason, that irritability and things, that's something, that struggle is real.
Yeah. It is real.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's really hard to raise kids when you're like that, because they don't deserve it and you don't want to be that way. And that's part of the emotional struggle that people don't talk about. It's the menopausal symptoms, but then it's also the emotional kind of piece of it, of how you feel knowing that's.
I think it's because you lose your relatedness to the other 30-year-olds out there. Like, you're not the 30-year-old that everyone else is, like, struggling with their periods or whatever. You're struggling with irritability and grouchiness. So,
right. And you're talking to your kids, trying to, parent them in a, I knew that I was way more relaxed before I was on my hormone suppression therapy than I am as a parent now. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, both of my kids at the time were in college. So, which I'm glad, but both of them were in college. And so my husband had to deal with me. But I tell you, we started to incorporate humor in some of the things that I was going through, which made me, be aware more of, like, when I knew I was getting grouchy, I just kind of went to the side for a while and just kind of went out
yourself,
took a walk or did something.
Yeah.
And he would say to me, "What's wrong? Your little people don't want to play with my little people." We'd have a laugh, but it really wasn't anything I could take medically. And my oncologist was very, very careful about anything that I took that she didn't know about.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like you are very fortunate to have a loving husband. And I think Sarah and I were the same way. Our husbands just wanted us to be around. They were very compassionate when it came to our symptoms and our side effects. What about you, Brenda? You and your husband ended up joining the Breakfast Club together. How was your marriage impacted by your diagnosis?
My husband and I both feel that our marriage grew stronger. He had some medical treatment, having been a medic in the Army, and he had been an administrator of a hospital in the Air Force. So he had enough medical background to know how to adjust to my moods.
Good.
So,
he had the training, the proper training.
Not to support you, but how to support himself.
Right. So
I know when to go.
It strengthened us in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. So, it sounds like you guys had good support, at home and with your spouses. But both of you, I want to hear from both of you, how do you feel like your faith helped you in your breast cancer journey?
Well, I've been in my church for almost 50 years. But yet, when it took me 5 years to get up and basically make an announcement, when I went at my 5-year mark, when, I got diagnosed.
So you didn't tell your church until you were 5 years post-diagnosis?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Now, I didn't, not openly, because at that time, I wasn't really ready to come out publicly. I would talk to women privately, but I just wasn't ready to share. And when I it was at the church. And basically it was my 5-month It was my 5 year. And when I got up to make the announcement, I told them that some probably knew, but a lot of people didn't know. And I just kind of did a testimony and shared. And as a result of that, because there were about 6 women in the congregation who nobody knew they were survivors. It was almost still hush hush. And the Breakfast Club got started because there was a young lady who had just been diagnosed, and she was married, had 2 young kids. And as a result of helping her cope, I asked her if she would like it. We could go to breakfast. I had 2 other friends who were survivors. And that's basically how the Breakfast Club got started.
Oh, breakfast with friends cures anything.
It's true.
That's right. Especially a 4-hour one. And that's what that was.
For sure. It's therapy.
So I'm interested in this, Sherrill. So was it because you just didn't feel emotionally ready to share that piece of you? Or was there a part of you that felt shame about the diagnosis? Or was it more just that you didn't want people to know because you just felt private about it?
I really wasn't ready to come out publicly. You know, my husband kept telling me, he said, why don't you just share with people you're a pediatric nurse, you've done this, you've done all that. And I was like, I'm not ready. I'm just not ready to do it publicly. But I wasn't ready that Sunday. I mean, I wasn't ready. I didn't come to church to say that, but it just happened. And you know, I'm pretty grounded in my faith. I wasn't ashamed of, you know, having a mastectomy, and that year with the chemo and all that, it had its ups and downs, but I still managed to go to church. So people didn't really know what I was going through until I basically publicly admitted it. And then, of course, once I admitted it, then, you know, a lot of this, my whole life changed. My whole life changed.
I think it's interesting that you use the word admitted. Like
shared it.
You shared what was happening with you. I feel like admitted is like, I peed on the carpet over there, and now I'm admitting that it happened. Like, you know, you want to. I feel like saying shared has, you know, less of a shame on me kind of connotation. Yeah.
I don't ever, now with my family and my extended family, everybody knew. Everybody knew. But I just wasn't ready until then to go outside of my
immediate circle. Yeah. Sarah and I have talked about this before because I'm a very private person. And so we always joke about how it's hilarious that we're doing the work we're doing now because obviously it's all front and center. I mean, I talk about breast cancer all the time now. But when I found out about my diagnosis, I felt very private about it. And I wasn't ready to kind of come out about it either. And but I will say, and I'm curious to see if you feel the same way. Once you do share that piece of you and you're open about it, I found it very healing. And I still do to talk about it. I find it healing to be able to use my experience to kind of relate to other women. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that way, Brenda?
I feel that it's very healing too. In my case, our faith gave us the strength to make it through the treatments and the side effects and my reoccurrence. But being a private person also, we told, my husband is a deacon in the church. So we told the minister and the deacons. So they knew. But as far as standing in front of the congregation and telling everyone else, no. After my recovery, though, I have referred other people to the Breakfast Club once I become aware of their situation.
Sure. Was your faith shaken at all when you had a recurrence? Did you think that you had left this behind you and then were shook to find that there was a reoccurrence, or did you handle it kind of in stride? How was that?
I think I handled it in stride because I was looking through some old papers and I found out that when I was originally diagnosed, they gave me some information about the possibility of recurrence. So I was reading through that. And as I read through that, and with the confidence I had in my oncologist from before, I was comfortable with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something that we've kind of been talking about in the last couple of episodes is sometimes it sounds as though you ladies you really owned your breast cancer experience. You didn't feel a lot of shame in it, although maybe you felt a little private about it. But there is some thought in the African American community that there is a stigma tied to breast cancer. And it sounds like you kind of understand those feelings. And so that puts you in a unique position to address it. Before we kind of go down that path, do you guys want to do some boobs in the news? Are you guys familiar with our boobs in the news segment?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. So, Sarah, you want to tell them what Boobs in the News is?
So, Boobs in the News is a funny segment where we read real tweets from people or ridiculous news stories.
Yeah. So, it's just a funny story in the news. So
we get to kind of break up the seriousness with a funny.
With some boobs.
Okay.
All right.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
You guys ready for this? This is from our friends at the Daily Dumbass. So Sarah and I were talking about, we had a really good Mother's Day this year. Did you guys have a good Mother's Day?
Yes, very great.
Yes, I did too.
Okay.
Great.
That not everybody had a good Mother's Day. It says, even if you gave your mom a lame Mother's Day gift, at least you didn't do this. Oh boy. Okay. A 22-year-old guy named Andrew in Wisconsin lives at home with his mom. He apparently got really mad on Mother's Day because he couldn't find his phone. There's so much wrong with that sentence already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's 22 years old
Poor
and
guy.
he's mad that he can't find his phone on Mother's Day.
Right.
So he wound up tasing his mom in the neck.
What?
That's
Hey.
what
How does it go from looking for your phone to tasing your mom?
tasing your mom in the neck. It says he was arrested for battery and disorderly conduct. And on top of that, Andrew's girlfriend was also arrested because she had punched his mom in the face 3 days earlier.
Oh.
3 days
Oh,
earlier.
no.
What is wrong? So the
Aw.
part about this that I think is kind of interesting, funny, is that it says, why the hell doesn't she kick them out of her house?
Right.
Like, why are you letting your son and his girlfriend live with you when he's
Yeah.
tasing you and she's assaulting you on Mother's Day?
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. Here's a tase.
Right, right.
Aw.
Can you imagine? Have you ever
Terrible.
have you ever watched somebody get tased on TV?
I have, yes.
It looks
is funny.
painful.
Yes. I've also tried the dog collars just to see how bad they are.
You know what? I have too. That's
So we've
what
kind
does
of,
that
we've
say
kind of
about
tased
us?
ourselves.
What does that say about
I
us
don't
that we
know.
both tried?
I just want to make sure it's not hurting nobody else.
Is that why you did it?
I don't know.
I just wanted to see what it felt like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Feels like an electric shock.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's something wrong with this.
Well-
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Brenda and Sherrill do not shock themselves with dog collars.
Yeah.
No, we have not. I have not.
All right. Those
No.
are
Okay,
I
so
have
maybe
not
wear the
either.
boobs.
yeah, we're the boobs for doing that and for admitting it on
Yeah.
the air.
Oops.
Oopsie. All right,
Yeah.
there's our boobs in the news.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
Okay, guys, so we're back. At this point, especially in St. Louis, a lot of people know that there's a big disparity in the mortality rate for Black women versus their white counterparts in breast cancer. But the reasons behind those disparities are multifaceted. You were kind of private about coming out, but you guys also were at the same time pretty vocal and pretty confident in your decision making.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a nursing background. You guys had supportive husbands. What are your guys' thoughts on why some Black women are so fearful of medical care, both preventatively and then after a diagnosis?
There is a lot of mistrust in the African American community with the medical community. And part of it is because there is a real history of the African American community, Black and brown communities being used in experiments, people not knowing that they were a part of that, the Tuskegee, even issues. So there's a real history there. There's a real history of real things happening in the community. So therefore, there's a lack of trust.
Well, and I think it's important to mention too, like the Tuskegee experiments. You know
Right.
what? I was shocked when I realized that ended in the 70s. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
talking about hundreds of years ago. We're
yeah.
talking about in the 70s.
In our lifetimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
which is appalling and disgusting, and it's really no wonder that people then would have medical distrust. Something I see a lot that I think is interesting is that sometimes the medical community will say, well, we just need to educate people. We just need to educate everyone. And Sarah and I have talked about our own issues with medical distrust, and we haven't shared those same experiences as the African American community, but we still have from time to time experienced medical distrust. Is it so much a lack of knowledge, or is it, to your point, more about just fear Fear of, being taken advantage of or not receiving the care that they deserve.
It's both. I think more education needs to happen. It's mistrust, it's fear. That is why a lot of African American people don't participate in research, because research, personally, even with my medical background, I have come a long way when it comes to research. In the beginning, when the Breakfast Club really got started, you would say research to me, and I'd be like, that's a closed book.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going down that avenue, However, through the years, what's happened is we have invited researchers in to talk to us, to be speakers, to answer our questions. And as a result, there have been women on their own, once they heard about maybe a research project, would participate. So
it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because we can't understand how Black women are going to respond to treatments if they don't participate, and yet they won't participate if they're scared to participate.
Right.
So,
and it sounds like you're using the Breakfast Club, which, for good reason, to help educate, to help reduce the fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who's in a better position to talk to these things than two women who have been there, done that?
Yeah.
Well, the majority of the women in the Breakfast Club are breast cancer survivors. 90% of them are survivors. But we also have a physician on our board who is very, very, very knowledgeable. She's able to really translate medical information in a way where people can understand what she's saying. And just the fact that we've had speakers there now. We've also worked with research projects and that kind of thing. I'm on some boards at Washington University, and so through the years I've grown, and so I feel like I don't have the same feelings that I started out with. I participated in some research projects. So I think that's what's helped. Now, I don't know, Brenda may want to speak on it too.
Well, basically what I think, the fear and knowledge is a combination. Also, the thing we have to realize is you have to establish a relationship with your doctor. I was fortunate enough that as I said, the family surgeon, he referred me to the oncologist and the radiation specialist. So, but I have over the years encountered people who were going to the same oncologist who were not comfortable with him. And we need to realize that it's a personal relationship that you have to establish. And if you don't have it, you should move on.
In our choosing the right provider for you episode, we talked about how there are kind of two kinds of people, and there's the ones who just want the facts and they want to get in, they want to get out. And then there's the ones who are more relational, and just creating that relationship helps build the trust with your provider. And then you can feel better cared for throughout. And it sounds like that is more what the community needs in general, is just those relationships with their providers.
Also, because my condition was triple negative, I also participated in a clinical trial.
Okay. Just having that relationship there. And I think in the medical community today, they're kind of operating in this medical environment to triage and treat the disease. And sometimes because they're so rushed and they're running from room to room, that some of that connection can be sometimes missing. And so I agree that you have to feel comfortable with your providers, or else you're not going to get optimal care. There's just always going to be something between you and them. So, Sherrill, you kind of explained that the Breakfast Club started when you guys all went to breakfast to support this one young survivor. Can you guys talk a little bit about the different programs that you have? You have a lot going on.
We do. We have like our bra and breast form program, and it's not always about just cosmetics. I mean, basically, it's for balance, it's for everything. So we work with Medical West. We send the ladies there to be professionally fit, especially those who have no insurance, who are medically underserved and uninsured.
Which, can we just say for a moment how wonderful Medical West is? Because they are so caring.
Yeah.
About
they are.
Yeah.
They are. And we've worked with them for a number of years. And we also have, a lot of women, when they get breast cancer, they sometime later they'll get lymphedema. We've set aside some funds to try to help ladies get gloves and sleeves, which are not a part of Medicare or Medicaid.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't
that crazy when that's the standard of care and yet they aren't provided to women who have lymphedema?
Mm-hmm. We're gonna provide you breast cancer care, and then we're gonna cut you off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a progressive disease. So if you don't maintain where you are with the sleeve, it just gets worse and worse, and then you're increasing your risk of hospitalizations and infections. And so I think that is a critical need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some insurances may provide it, but Medicare and Medicaid does not.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we have a program we call Faith on the Move. We work with churches and health ministries at the churches and also we're working with Sightman, Missouri Baptist, and Mercy. Our buddies work with the church, like I said, the church, the hospitals, that kind of thing. And women can get their mammograms there. Even during COVID, we were able to screen over 300, almost 350. And that's actually to go there to the church and navigate the ladies through it.
Okay.
That's amazing.
And our breast health buddy program, these are survivors themselves. And when we get newly diagnosed women, they'll either call through the Breakfast Club line, or it's sometimes word of mouth, and they will buddy newly diagnosed women for up to 9 months. That means now before COVID, sometimes our buddies would go to the appointments with them and that kind of thing, but they're still able to do some things, stay in touch on the phone, or, our ladies get comfort kits, deliver comfort kits. And so they're able to do that. And I think even during COVID, I think we had maybe this past year, we were close to maybe like 20 newly diagnosed women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think especially because of COVID, I mean, you had heightened patient anxiety, you had lack of support in the medical environment because they couldn't bring their loved ones in. So
and people just skipping their routine screening because COVID.
Right. So I think emotional support in your buddy program was just so needed during that time.
Yep.
And we should see referrals go up at that time because the hospitals weren't able to provide that support on site at all. Before we wrap up with where people can find you, let's hear from our second sponsor.
SSM Health is a proud sponsor of the Besties with Breasties podcast. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer during their lifetime. Early detection is key, and keeping up to date on yearly mammograms could be life-saving. At SSM Health, we offer patients in the St. Louis area online scheduling for mammograms, including next-day appointments. Visit ssmhealth.com/schedule-mam to make your appointment now.
So, Sherrill, where can people find the Breakfast Club?
Well, I can give you our number and you can call in. It's 314-972-8883.
Do you guys have a website, or are you on social media?
We have a website, www.breakfastclubstl.org.
Love it.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, both Sherrill and Brenda, and the work that you're doing in the community. It is so needed. If anyone listening feels like their own experience and feelings, they resonate kind of with what Sherrill and Brenda shared, please reach out to them in the Breakfast Club for support.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us today, Sherrill and Brenda.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, guys. Until next time.
See ya.
If you are a breast cancer survivor and you love Besties with Breasties, make sure you join our survivorship support network at faiththroughfire.org to gain access to exclusive episodes that are ad-free and uncensored.